Hello everyone and welcome to Meet the Member. Today we're getting to know a little bit more about Euan Monaghan. So Euan, can you please tell us a bit about your role and sum up your work for us, and also tell us where you are, please?
Sure. So I'm currently sitting in an office in The Hague in the Netherlands, where for the most part I'm a freelance book designer working with primarily independent publishers in the UK and the US, and then I don't know, maybe half a day a week or a day a week I'm the publisher of Structo Press, which is a relatively new independent publisher.
Brilliant, thank you. And can you tell us a bit about how you got into the work you're doing now?
Yeah. So I actually studied sciences. I'm not a publishing trained person, at least not by university. I actually studied physics at university, but it was first at university that I got involved with publishing. I worked on designing the film magazine there. Upon graduating, I really missed that environment. Publishing a magazine is incredibly fun, kind of collaborative process.
Yeah,
and
similar thing at uni myself.
Yeah, great. It's very satisfying, and especially when you're doing it with fellow students, it's very low stakes in the best kind of way. You can experiment and just do a bunch of stuff that maybe doesn't have any big financial. You're not going to make any money from it. You can just have fun, and so I really missed that. It was a really, really nice environment. And so I'd always been really into short stories and fiction in general. And after a little while after graduating, I was doing my kind of further education in the sciences. And I decided to start a magazine of my own. I was like, right, okay. So I decided to start a literary magazine. So this was 2008. So that's Structo, the magazine, which actually I founded while I was working over here as an intern in the Netherlands. So the first issue was published here, and then the rest published and printed in the UK. So yeah, I did a master's degree and a PhD, and through that time, I've been basically doing design a lot. Designing first the film magazine, then the literary magazine. And at some point I saw, I think it was maybe 2011 or so, First Story is a charity based in the UK. They work with disadvantaged schools or schools in areas which are, in need of a bit of a hand. They have published authors go in and work with them, and they produce anthologies of creative writing, and they produce these beautiful anthologies, and they had a call out for designers to work with them. So back in 2011 or whenever it was, I got in touch with them. I was like, hey, I haven't done books before, but I've done magazines. Can I help? So yeah, I designed a few books for them, and that's continued till now. I mean, I did one end of last year. So that kind of got me into books initially. But the actual book design I started doing in the years after that, just here and there. And eventually, after my PhD and postdoc here in Leiden, here in the Netherlands, I decided I'd kind of had enough of academia, and so decided to just do a bit more freelance design, just to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. And that was 3 years ago, and I'm kind of still doing it. Yeah, so that's the design side of things. The publishing. So the magazine was a biannual. It's approximately an annual these days. We publish whenever it's ready, which is kind of nice. But we'd always been, at least in the last few years, we've been thinking, it would be nice to get a book out eventually. And so we had a staff member working with us who was a translator from the Spanish, French, and Catalan. And when he left the magazine to kind of concentrate on his own work, I said, keep an eye out for anything interesting. And then he got back in touch with something interesting, which turned into our first book, which was published end of last year, which was a new translation of Juan Rolfo, who was a Mexican writer. He wrote 2 books. He published 2 books in his lifetime, and this is one of them. The other one is published in the UK by Serpent's Tail. And yeah, that brings us up to now, I guess.
Brilliant. That sounds really varied across the 2 sort of things.
Yeah.
That sounds great. So I'd love to know why you joined BookMachine, who you hope to meet, and what you hope to learn.
So I think I can't actually remember. I was trying to figure it out where I first heard of BookMachine. It might have been at the London Book Fair a couple of years ago. That seems plausible. It's around that time, yeah. I think. And I think it was, I'd been out here for a while and very disconnected from the world of publishing in general, but specifically geographically being out of the country. I mean, I have friends who work with independent publishers and are at independent publishers and so on, but that's a very occasional thing, and it's not a professional network in that sense. And so I was half keeping an eye out for what that could be, because originally I joined the Society of Young Publishers a few years ago when the magazine was a few years in, and that was really helpful. And at the time I was in the UK and could get to meetings and so on. And yeah, when I saw BookMachine and figured out what it was, I was like, okay, great. This might be a way to just at least get a sense of what's happening in the world of publishing. And it turns out it was, which is great.
Brilliant. Is there anything in particular you were hoping to learn when you joined, or is it just?
It's really a general. There wasn't anything specific. It was more that general sense of just feeling what's going on in publishing now. Not necessarily trends, more like it is those intangible things. It's really the broader sense of how publishing is going, what people are up to, what challenges people are facing. Because it's very easy to think, oh, we're the only people dealing with this thing, especially when you're a new indie publisher for whom everything is a challenge pretty much. And so it's just nice to realize that actually most people are dealing with the same stuff at varying levels. So the sense of community is a big part of it, I think.
Brilliant. My last question is, what are you working on at the moment, and what excites you about it?
Yeah, so on the book design side of things, this week I've been working on an essay collection for Melville House, which is coming out later this year. It's about premature births, which it's absolutely fascinating in a world I knew nothing about really. So I often get incredibly distractingly interesting books from them, and so yeah, that was this week. On the press and magazine side, the stuff on the wall behind is the new issue of the magazine, which we're currently figuring out the running order for, and it just helps to have it up there because then I actually see what's going on. So that's going to come out in a few weeks. And yeah, we're finalizing a contract for the next Structo Press book, which is very, very exciting. And I really want to tell everyone about it. We can't quite yet. So that's, or at least it's the next translation. We're probably going to alternate between translations and books in the original in English. It's going to be a little bit down the road before that one comes out. But yeah, so contracts, which is always fun for a Friday.
Fantastic. That sounds really interesting. You have to let us know when you can tell us more.
Definitely will.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time today. It was really great getting to know a bit more about you, and we all look forward to connecting with you on the community very soon.
Thanks very much. It's great, and it's really nice to have that community there. Especially now, because everyone I think is realizing how important it is to have connections. I mean, it's interesting. You had these really nice events. Unfortunately, they clash with my one social engagement, which is a book club. But it was really nice to see people there from all around the UK as well, who wouldn't ordinarily be able to get to. I'm from the north of England originally, and I could never get to London events. So it's really nice to see.
It's great.
Silver linings, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. There's opportunities coming out of sort of negative situations. So got to do what we can with them and try and make it work for everyone. So
great. Oh, thanks a lot.
Thanks.